So you remember when we were going to have our first baby, and it was a lot of stress, a lot of process, and after the successful delivery, as a result of that year, you know the story. I don't have to tell you all the details. As a result of that year, I had to go through some form of stitching, and that doctor. Oh, each time I remember this, I just wish I could tell him maybe one or two things I felt about what he did to me. But then,
And also wish I had the need to sue him
mm,
for all the different dramas and complications he
so
almost caused.
maybe he did what he thought was right to do, because I can remember him saying to me, "It's one thing to have a successful delivery; it's another thing not to bleed to death." So in the process of stitching me up, he did it in a hurry, and it was a total mess. And as a result of
You know,
that,
I remember I was forgotten inside your body,
uh,
a drama with the nurse trying to claim she has removed it, and thank God you were conscious enough to have counted with them when they were cleaning you up, you know.
yeah, I would always say to new mothers that they should always remember to be conscious, even if the pain may be excruciating, be alert, be sensitive. Because if I was not sensitive, if I was not paying attention, it would have resulted to a more dangerous situation. But that's not the crux of the matter. I really just want to know how you were able to overcome that process, because after that period, remember we had to go to another facility where they had to lose what was stitched, and it was really, really painful for months. I was in pain for months. I was in pain, and I remember most of those times that you were longing for me. You wanted us to get back to what it was before the
Intimate.
baby came, but then it was really difficult, really difficult. And I want to know, how were you able to cope? Because the feelings cannot die, the emotions are always constantly rising. So at that point, all I wanted to do was to heal and to recover. I wasn't thinking about anything intimacy, because of course I couldn't even look at myself properly in the mirror without getting violent because of the pain I was going through. So I really felt rejected. I felt like I wasn't paying attention to you anymore. So tell me, how did you really feel, and how were you able to get through it?
Okay, first, I didn't feel rejected, no. Though I felt starved, because definitely I'll feel that way, even if I was also trying to be very sensitive to the fact that you're going through pains, all manner of tears, and then at the same time, you're also trying to be a mother, because that was our first child. So everything was new, the pain was new, the process was new, the journey up and down was new. Probably you had a faint idea of what it means to be a wife at that stage, but everything was really new. So I won't really say I felt rejected, but I felt stabbed. And one of the ways I had to deal with that was truly I had to get involved in fatherhood with you,
Mm.
because I started learning how to remember how I was forcing you. I wanted to beat Orube, our first child. Then you were like, no, you cannot, you cannot. And for I think after about a month or so, you started allowing me to beat you, and then no. So how I handled that period sexually was truly was just to get committed, was just to get my heart involved in the process, because one, cheating could never be an option. That would be the most insane,
Intimate.
insensitive thing for me to have done, not just as a father, a new father, but as a husband. And I had to pour out my energy, my heart,
Shifted
shifted
focus.
my focus. Thank you, that's the right description. I had to shift my focus into substituting as an assistant mother, you know, learning to feed him at the point, learning to carry him when you need to sleep at night so that you can get good rest. So yes, that was one way for me to maneuver through that phase. I had to learn to be a father. I had to learn to be not just a father of a child. But yes, I remember when we were getting married, the father told me, you see, as my daughter. So yes, I also had to learn to nurse you, care for you. And don't forget, our mothers were not, they did their best, but they were not there for the longest of time. So I had to step in into multiple shoes. So I remember your
You
mom,
hated me at some
I had
point.
to beat you several, not one point, severally, because I knew your mom was very strong at the point when she came. She left after maybe a week or two. My mom also, she left. So it was just me, you, and our boy. So I had so much going on in my head that I could just manage myself. And don't forget, we started, trying other forms of intimacy that doesn't really require penetration, just so that you can also feel comforted and also have to feel comforted. So I think that was one way we handled that system. together.
So those days you were burning and you were giving and I wasn't giving you offended.
Yes, I can't deny that. There were no few times where I lost my cool. Yeah, there were times I just felt like, God, I just needed this thing, and I didn't want to care, about the pain and everything. But like I said earlier, yes, I had times I lost my cool, but I had to remind myself because I remember one of my favorite mentor who always say, marriage is about dedication and commitment to one another. So even when I felt like I had options to comfort myself. Yes, there were options.
Yeah, options.
Yeah, there were options.
Not as good as the name.
No, definitely. That's why it's called an option anyway. It's not as
So do
good.
you try out the options?
No,
Okay.
no.
Truthfully?
Yes, true.
Sincerely?
Sincerely and righteously.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You feel good enough.
God fearing, yes.
I believe you.
So yes, like I said, there were options. But, like I said, I'm a person who is not really given to trying things, and you know that for me. Not given to trying things. I just love bonding. I love.
Entrepreneurial spirit, moving first.
No, so yes, that's not to say I didn't have my down times, but no, I never attempted to cheat on you in those seasons.
Okay. Thank you for being honest. So what is this conversation actually going to do for new couples that are just going to get into parenting
Okay,
in the moment?
just so we can
What
probably
to
wrap it.
expect
Yes, as a man,
and how to adjust
as a man, because
expectations.
this is mostly for the men. You're not the one who carried the pregnancy. I remember our children, you gave birth to them after 10 months. So I can imagine, only imagine, I can experience. I can't say I know how you felt. I can never know. I can only say I imagine how you felt carrying those heavy children in your tummy. I know you're very you're very big. And then you're carrying giants in your tummy, and then you put to bed, and then sometimes you have come out. The two experiences you had challenges, but thank God you came out strong. So for every father or husband listening today, you must understand that your woman needs you most in those seasons. And that is not the season for you to want to mess around. That's not the season for you to want to go for options, just like you pointed out. No, that's the season where you even show how loving you are to your spouse, how loving you should be to your children. Because these are moments, even if you never share them, the guilt alone will speak in your heart. So you don't want to lose the fineness of parenting and the beautiful moments of being a loving husband just because you couldn't hold yourself, so you had to go and get it outside. Stay true with her, comfort her. That is the best time she needs you to heal. And then to mothers, there is nothing we can say until you heal. You cannot do anything.
Yes, so for her, the healing is the most important thing and it's top priority because you need to stay healthy mentally, emotionally, physically to be able to care for a newborn. So why that is important, also do not disregard the feeling of your husband because of course there is blood flowing through the veins and emotions will definitely rise. Don't disregard, don't shove them away. There are other ways to actually tell them and communicate how you're feeling, especially if it has to do with pain. Communicate how you're feeling, and of course, it will be reasonable to adjust and channel that frustration or dissatisfaction into the parenting because it's a lot of time. Because
okay, so we are going to close it here, but just to add to what you've said, we're closing it here, but just add to what you've said. I think, just like you rightly mentioned, communicate everything with your husband in that moment. Yes, he will not ever understand how you feel in those moments.
And the husband's being empathetic.
Definitely, you have to be empathetic. I'm coming from a place of speaking to the women now. Speak to your husband. You may not be able to have sexual intimacy with him for months. For some people, it's months. For some, it could be weeks, based on the complication. Maybe for some women who give birth to CS, they could be having some complications and the rest. So yes, in those moments, you have to be strong as a man. But as a woman, please don't just be dismissive. Don't just say, "Are you insensitive? Are you this?" No, try to comfort him. Try to say, "I know how you feel, my husband." Yeah, no, as a man, don't even think of option. I'm not even giving men the soft landing on this. I'm not saying if your wife dismisses you anyhow, go and get options. No, there's no excuse. But the point is, just be nice to your husband in those seasons. You could just be giving him more hugs, more pegs. You could kiss him. You could just be there. Your hands can be useful. Just initiate other options that could make him feel comfortable. I think that's one way to go about it. Thank you very much for asking me those questions.
Thank you for being honest.
Appreciate your love again.
No, that is not complete.
Come on.